All right, this little lady taught me a whole lot about what 4-H meant, because I had no idea ahead of time. So this is Amanda Fisher, and the title of her project is Paving the Path to Participation, Developing Inclusive Infrastructure for Youth with Disabilities. Woo!
Imagine you're this 10-year-old kid wanting to participate in 4-H. What's 4-H, you say? You get to become a leader, a friend, and have responsibility to take care of an animal, or it'll probably die by itself, so you have to have some goals set for it. But imagine you're this kid, and you look a little different, you feel a little different. You're nervous about being judged by others at the fairgrounds. What if you're told by your parents, I don't know what it'll look like for you. I'm scared. You don't want to be singled out, but of course you want to bring your bunny to the fair. What if you get a blue ribbon and you get to stand up in front of everyone, including your friends, and say, I did this? Well, for the past 14 weeks, I've been working at the Lenawee County, the Michigan State University Extension Office of Lenawee County, which is now Stewart, working on infrastructure and policies to make this 10-year-old kid feel welcome and included in all 4-H activities. We've been looking at physical, sensory, and mental disabilities that historically has been a barrier for kids participating in 4-H. My project, Paving the Pathway to Participation, wasn't just about physical ramps and modifying the environment. We were talking about developing a framework, including being able to welcome families, not just youth, into our 4-H community. I delivered volunteer trainings. I got to videotape myself, which wasn't fun for someone who doesn't like to hear herself talk. I got to make sensory toolkits for fair meetings, the fairgrounds, and for volunteers. My personal favorite was the adaptive judging policy. I got to basically work into a bunch of documents just like this, like a 30-page document that I worked on for a lot of hours. I got to talk about what it would look like for a kid with disabilities, how it would be to educate the volunteers, the judges. How can we make this fair for youth with disabilities, but also impactful? For this population, for any population, I believe 4-H is extremely impactful in youth development. I grew up in 4-H. I got to care for animals. I got to present in front of people, and I got to sew with my grandparents. It's not only about judges and ribbons and the funnel cakes. It's about a primary source of social capital and vocational skill building, which, just like me, learning about what an occupation is, 4-H is extremely occupation-based. However, the literature showed that the youth with disabilities participate in extracurricular activities like this at extremely lower rates than youth and their neurotypical youth friends. Not only did I get to impact the youth in this case, but I got to impact the families and the volunteers that get to dedicate their times to kids like these. I got to talk to people. I got to use my OT expertise, which I'm not super comfortable with at this point, but I got to learn how to be a professional. A lot of talks came from, how do you see it? And how can we change that into being a modification for these youth? We had to ask questions like, what can we do to make the environment better? Not, can they even handle the fairgrounds? Not only has this been a checklist and learning about what can we change in the fairgrounds, but it's also been about going through and changing the mindset of volunteers and the judges and the leaders in the 4-H industry. We try our best to be inclusive as possible, but what does that truly mean? We want the youth to feel that they belong, that they can do their best, not feel singled out, and get as the impactful experience as those around us. The big question is, how can we sustain this? Well, again, I filled out a ton of paperwork for the staff at MSU. I recorded myself and worked to make this as sustainable as possible, as I won't be there any longer. If I had to do it over again, I would probably run back to the implementation phase. Unfortunately, like one of my classmates has stated before, we were from January to April, and fair is usually the end of July. I would love to put boots on the ground and see kids with disabilities in their natural environment, see what we can do, perform the activity analysis that we've learned over and over again, and get to modify things in real time. Thank you. Does anyone have questions? Yes, Sandra.
How did the judges and the folks at the 4-H organization respond to your project?
It depends. Depends on the...
She learned well.
In some cases, I've had multiple conversations where it felt like it was one-sided, where I had to be a very strong advocate for youth with disabilities. I got to come up with metaphors. I got to have people talk to me and become an active listener to understand what truly they believe is going to happen. In some cases, they said, is it unfair for the youth without disabilities to give this leg up? And in that case, I said no. It's like standing at a fence and you need a step stool to look over, or if you were born 7 feet tall and you don't need a step stool. Ultimately, you get to see the sunset either way, and it's not hurting the person next to you to have a stool. So we got to have a lot of conversations. Yes.
What was the one thing that you feel contributed most to your growth as a leader, as an advocate?
The biggest thing, and Janelle, my mentor, is here today, I would say would be Janelle. I grew up with Janelle, and I talked to her about the first 3 weeks in. I felt like I was still a student. I felt like I had to show my work. I felt like she had to double check me. And while she did double check me, a lot of times she just said, no, go do it. You're the expert. Reminding me exactly who I am, reminding me that I'm a doctoral student. And I've prepared for this for the past couple years with you guys here. So the biggest thing I would say is she kind of told me, just go be a professional. I don't have time for this. You got it. Anybody else? Okay.